Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box. And it was this week in 1973 that Maureen McGovern's song The Morning After became number one. And of course, the song would feature in the arguably classic film The Poseidon Adventure. Now, that's not the end of the story because I want to talk about why the song has been a centerpiece of some of the finest parodies in late 20th and early 21st century satire. Now, the song itself is one of these very earnest songs. It's a sentimental song. Now, I always draw a distinction between something that's romantic and something sentimental. Something romantic has the ability to create an emotional response in an audience, in a viewer, in a listener, because of the weight or the profundity of it. I mean, the very word romantic comes from the term Roman, as in, grand and, classical and bigger than life and weighty. I mean, when you think of Julius Caesar and Brutus and, Augustus and Tiberius and all of these people, they're quite serious people. They're the founders of sort of modern European civilization. And so that's where we get the word romantic from. Sentimentality is something different. Sentimentality sort of encourages us to be, indulgent in our more, let's say, saccharine and corny emotions, if I can put it that way. And this song, without knocking it, because it's a good song in its own way and a very popular song, but it definitely plays on that sentiment. Even in the classical world, we see it. We see someone like Bruckner whose lengthy symphonies were incredibly romantic. They had the weight, they had a liturgical feeling to them. And then we have the more sentimental, ornate symphonies of Mahler. Two people who wrote long symphonies, but you couldn't get more of a different approach to music composition. Now, sentiment and sentimentality is very easy to mock because it's earnest in its sort of pathos. And that's why in the late 90s, one of the best episodes of South Park ever based an entire episode, more or less, along the premise of this song. So the episode goes where Chef, the sort of wise talking, womanizing, very smooth school cafeteria chef, voiced by the late great Isaac Hayes, he disappears. And it's because he's eloped with this woman. And where Chef was famous for singing Isaac Hayes style soul music to the kids to sort of explain life's problems, once he got engaged to this woman, he starts singing The Morning After by Maureen McGovern. And the kids don't like it at all. They much prefer the hot buttered soul. And so the children learn that this is no ordinary woman, but she's a succubus, a mythological creature designed to suck the life and vitality out of men. And the only way, according to ancient legend, to stop a succubus is to sing Maureen McGovern's song, The Morning After, backwards. Now, that itself is a parody of what a lot of people who didn't like heavy metal and hard rock music in particular in the 60s and 70s were saying. They were saying that, oh, if you play certain songs, if you play Stairway to Heaven backwards, you won't just fuck up your cartridge, but you'll summon the devil. And so it was a parody of that. And this song just worked so wonderfully because it was sort of the most unsort of heavy metal type of song that you could imagine. And that wasn't the only show that parodied it. In another one of my favorite comedy animated shows, King of the Hill by Mike Judge, it's also parodied because Con Super Phone runs away from his very strict Laotian father to the karaoke bar, and this becomes his song. It's very funny. So what's the point of all this? Well, there are certain you can make fun of everything, and I encourage you to try. But there are some things that lend themselves to parody more than others. And I would say sentiment, as opposed to things that are romantic, lend themselves to parody much more because there's something about sentimentality that I think makes us all a bit nervous. Even if we're very expressive and extroverted people, there's something about sentiment that's just a bit too conveniently soft, a bit too conveniently, cottage cheese, if you will, where romantic stuff stirs us to ever bigger heights. It's again why I love Anton Bruckner. It's why the kids love the very sort of romantic soul of Isaac Hayes, but didn't really go for what they considered sentimental, through the ears of babes, in this case, the South Park kids who we all know and love. So there you go. That's my take on this. And as always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.